All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a WTA Learn. And ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to have a conversation here. And that conversation that we're going to have here is going to all be about estate planning. And I always like to ask the question, someone thought highly enough of you to want you to come and hear the information that we disclose rather, every Tuesday at 2 here at Eastern Standard Time. So we're glad to be able to have you here. And the question I always like to ask is, when was the last time that you had your estate plan reviewed? And I get all kinds of responses. I try to make sure I can ask that question between 6 and 10 times a day out there, because then I know that I am making an impact or an influence there, or getting people at least thinking in lines of ways in which most people are not, and they should at least and be able to entertain that question. Some people say, "What estate?" Never, don't have an estate, or yet, or may never on that side. Or some people may say last week, or it's coming up soon, and then asking deeper questions to find out more. We're all about wealth and transfer. In our name, Wealth Transfer Alliance, where we believe that if you know transfer, you know wealth. However, if there is no transfer, then essentially there is no wealth. All right. We want to make sure that there is a difference that's being made, because something needs to take place. We're firm believers across the board with the information that we're providing you is going to start what needs to be started. And that is the planning and execution of intergenerational wealth transfer, because we believe it is a proven path to upward economic and social mobility for all families in America. And that's what we want to make a difference. Because let me tell you this, in case you don't know, if you don't have a plan, in actuality, you do have a plan. And that plan is the government's plan. And that government's plan traditionally benefits the government. I'm going to show you the numbers on that side. We want things to benefit families, because here's the next statement. Isn't your life worth a legacy? Think about it. Work hard. You, in your education, your experience, your just your time that you give back and forth on things, there is something that you have to impart to your loved ones. And it should come quick, fast, in high order, with a lot of respect around it. That's what WTA is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a huge transfer that's coming about. Now, I am going to turn it over so you can hear from the sources, or be able to see the sources. What are they saying about the size of this transfer? Well, these particular outlets, and there are plenty more, do your research. Go ahead and chat GPT. What is the great wealth transfer? Google it. Use the AI to find out what it is. And you'll come to find that between the silent generation and the baby boomers, about $84 trillion will exchange hands. And it's about 20 years left in that big transfer. This is the reason why you're hearing all kinds of things about estate planning, commercials and pop-ups on your on the sidebar of all your searches and your presence, whether it be in social media or on the internet. It's going all around, because they understand and know that this is having a major effect. And that effect, ladies and gentlemen, is going to change the job market in incredible ways, real estate in incredible ways. Assets of all kinds are going to be shifted and changed around in a huge way. Government decision seats are going to change. All of that's going to happen because it involves these baby boomers. And they control over 53% of America's wealth. They control over 63% of all the decision seats that are out there, both county, state, and federal. They control over 70% of all the S&P 500 companies, management, and decision-making. There's a lot that's going on, that's that needs to transcend. But guess what? The silent generation and the baby boomers aren't the only ones that need a comprehensive and complete estate plan. Everyone does. If you have anything of value or any decisions that need to be taken into account in case you're unable to, that needs to be addressed. And that's what estate planning typically is all about. So if the sources are saying this big wave of 84 trillion just for them is coming through, who is it coming to? And how is it coming about? What are the sources saying about the preparation of this transfer? Look at this. 70% of property owners who plan to bequeath real estate to their heirs, they do, but they don't have an estate plan. How are they going to do it? How is it going to come into place? 33% of US adults have created estate planning documents. That's crazy, only 33%. 32% of Americans have a will, and a will go through probate. 52% of people don't even know where their parents store their estate planning documents. 40% of Americans don't think that they have enough assets to create an estate plan. Ladies and gentlemen, about 18 months ago, I thought the same exact thing. That was there. There was a certain level of criteria to understand that. This is a miss by most, and most people don't understand. And by reading these statistics and understanding the size of the money that's going down and is taking place this year, it tells me that we're unprepared and that more and more families and loved ones are going to, in the future, have unnecessary legal battles, costs, delays, and stress. This is a major, major problem that's in place. So when there are major problems, typically people lean on the government to be able to help, to run some type of funding, or to be able to give grants to help people understand the difference, or to make a change, or to run programs, right? Well, the state government has something called death revenue. In 2023, that death revenue was an upwards of $6 billion for the states. For the federal government, $33 billion in 2022, 34 in 2023, and they're projecting, they are making projections, right? They're forecasting that it's going to be an upwards of 66 plus billion by 2034. Why would they make a change? Because whenever you project revenue, that means that you want it to continue to come. You don't try to stop revenue in any successful organization of any sorts that deals with the flow of currency. That's why they call it currency, because it flows, right? In revenue, no one tries to lessen it, okay? So this is a problem that's not going to be solved through programming of our good government that's in place. It's not going to happen. In fact, they're hoping that these projections probably even exceed it, all right? And what you need to understand is that it is crucial, if you are without a complete and comprehensive estate plan, to establish one. It's crucial for you to establish one, because without it, you're living unprotected. And without it and you, your wishes, responsibilities, assets, and the like may not be handed or handled as you intended, causing significant financial hardships, possible emotional burdens, all to your loved ones. I need you to understand and see that an estate plan is not just for the wealthy. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, over 35% of adults, and I want to know if this is true for you as well, 35% of adults in the United States say that they or someone that they know experienced some type of family conflict because an estate plan was not in place. This unfortunate situation happens time and time again. Now, for just over a minute, I want to share with you a story of a family and see if you have heard or seen anything semblance of this, because unfortunately, it's being repeated over and over throughout America. So let's look for a difference to happen and see if you have any familiarity with what you're about to see here and now.
My grandmother has lived at this house for as long as I can remember. She helped to raise me and all my cousins. This kitchen is where she made her world-famous chicken and dumplings from scratch. This is the piano where she put all of our school pictures, even the ugly ones. And this is my grandmother. This is her sister and her brother, my Uncle LJ. This is her and my grandfather before he passed away. This is the painting that she keeps it in her hallway. Together they had 8 kids. This is my Uncle Harry, Uncle Val, and Uncle Jake, better known as the Royal Boys. These are just a few of my cousins. Here we are in front of my grandmother's house after Thanksgiving dinner. This is my cousin Gina and my cousin Chris with their parents and my grandmother at Gina's graduation. They have their own kids now. These are my cousins Malcolm and Gabriel. They live in New York City. This is all of us when Chris was still a baby. This is my Aunt Dawn and my Aunt Janet in Oklahoma. They were the first in our family to graduate from college. This is my family. And this is the amount of money that tore us all apart.
This is unfortunate. However, the story continues throughout America over and over and over again, but it must be stopped. Because it's not just about the money, it's about the unity, and it's about being able to help as things go about and become better as you leave than when you came. That's really what it's all about. So we, ladies and gentlemen, offer what we believe to be the best solution. It's an intelligent, intuitive, internet-based estate planning technology. With it, you can conveniently establish your plan customized for your life. You have the ability to start it when you want, on any device like a smartphone or tablet or computer. There are a lot of softwares that are out there in the marketplace, but let me tell you why there's a difference here. Most of the softwares that are out there, they were originated and created in order to sell something else. What do I mean by that? It's either a legal package, tax services, to sell more insurance, real estate, to be able to offer more financial planning or something of that nature. The purpose that this was put together was purely for the transfer of assets, effectively removing people from being categorized on probate. That was the original reason why it was put together. This interview process that it has in place is set in a place to take you through a 5-step process that you're going to see in just a moment. Who put this software together? This gentleman right here, Adam Stutnicki. He's the Chief Compliance Officer for all that you see here. In fact, he was the gentleman who was the head of all the attorneys that were involved in putting it together. As you can see, fun fact, he was in the same graduating class from law school at Harvard University's law as Barack Obama. His undergraduate degree in economics from Arizona State. We have aligned ourselves in a strategic alliance with them to bring this software solution to the marketplace. His background is impeccable. Over 30 years of work experience that he has and expertise in law. He was voted the best amongst the best lawyers in exclusive peer review honor, top 100 lawyers in the American Association of Trial Lawyers, America's most honored lawyers, top 1% of the registry that was there. And he also has the U.S. Veterans of Foreign Wars Certificate of Appreciation. Well documented. Look him up and see it on that side. He headed all the attorneys that was putting this whole thing together in the way, in the format that it was set in the place there. He partnered up with the chief financial officer, Mr. Dean Martin, the youngest ever elected in office there in Arizona, in which he retired there as the state treasurer. He's the current CFO and chief technology officer. Graduated also from Arizona State University there as well, from that prestigious school of business that's there. These are the individuals, so you know I did not create the software, that are behind it and set it all in place, and they got it all locked in with the updates with LexisNexis to make sure everything is intact, because it works in all 50 states and the District of Columbia to make sure that everything is in place for you. The interface is a 5-step interview process. The technology is friendly, it's easy to follow. It lists all the items that you need to successfully complete the step 1, which is called the interview process that you'll have there. It's going to walk you through there, and here is where you're going to input all your information. You're going to select your beneficiaries, trustees, make other decisions to do what? To create your estate plan. It's going to customize your plan without any legalese. There is no legal knowledge required, and no time are you required to even write any language that's there. In fact, it's going to produce all the attorney drafted documents as you just simply fill in the blanks: name, middle name, last name, spouse's information, if you're set up with it to be a spouse instead of a single, address, city and state, zip code, county or equivalent, that's there. And answering the yes or no questions is there. In fact, what it's going to do, the technology in place here, what is it going to do is it's going to pull, based upon those answers from what is called decision tree programming. It's going to pull from its language and from the language that's needed from the database to populate all of your attorney drafted documents. For example, when you put in the state, or as you notice, the county, it will say your parish or your borough, depending on if you live in Louisiana or Alaska or New York, that's there. There are specific laws that need to be adhered to, in which it will address right off the top there. In fact, it also goes through other more complex situations like blended families, ex-spouses, stepchildren, step-grandchildren. It goes through all kinds of in-law situations. It even asks, when you add people on there, if they're disabled, so it can pull up what is called a special needs trust if needed. It also addressed organ donations along the way as well as special bequeaths, as you can see there. This technology is phenomenal. You'll also see that it has FAQs, but its FAQs are not just statements. There's also videos, because it understands that people don't like to read. People will scroll and skim. They don't like to read. But guess what? They can tell you on Prime Videos, Netflix, and all of that out there, the episodes verbatim of what's happening out there because they'll watch a video. So they got them answered in video format, storytelling and things of that nature as well, which is phenomenal. It also will provide you with all the support that you would need there to make sure that everything's in place there, with printed guidebooks, videos in place there, instructive videos, a glossary of terms. You have email support as well, all there at your fingertips. In fact, once you go through that process there, that interview process there, what you'll be able to see here that you'll have next is what they call the review. You'll get to the review process and you'll see all the green check marks. There'll be a red X if there was any problems during the interview process. And it would also have question marks if you didn't answer something. Okay. All of that will be there. Once you're satisfied with the review, you then will go through every scenario under each one of the different components of your complete and comprehensive estate plan: your revocable living trust, your certificate of trust, your pour over will, your last will and testament, your power of attorney over assets, your power of attorney over healthcare, your living will and advance directive. All of those you'll be able to go through segment by segment. You can edit your interview process that you have there if you need to make changes there. You can upload additional documents if that's needed, or you can generate the document. And when you generate the document, it will come up in a PDF form. You'll see it in this little gray box here. It will give you the history of every time that you did what? Downloaded the document. It will give you the day of the week, the month, the day of the month, and the year, and the time. Every single time that you were in a position where you generated the document. Then you can print it out and it will inform you. This document needs to be notarized and signed. This document needs to be signed and witnessed. This document needs to be signed, witnessed, and notarized. So it sets it all up for you in that particular process there so that you can get it printed and signed. It is important that the most important step for you to put into place there, to be able to have that all in place there to make it that legal binding document. Now, afterwards, if you need to make changes, you can always do so once it's created, right? To be able to do that, because they know that things can happen. So if you got married or got divorced, you bought a house or received a valuable gift, or had a new child or grandchild, or maybe you have new in-laws or lost a loved one. These are life events that can happen, along with a whole myriad of other things that can take place, because life is a magnificent trip, right? But all these can lead to changes that are needed in your estate plan. And you have unlimited changes, right? There's no additional fee for changes as long as you have an active subscription, which we'll describe for you in a moment. Any changes must be in the form of either an amendment or restatement, and you can make those changes either method within your platform right there at your fingertips. And ladies and gentlemen, after that document has been ratified because it's been signed, notarized, and or witnessed, whichever is required by your jurisdiction, that's in place there as noted through the instructions of your platform. Just simply follow those. Now comes the most important part. Now, if you don't remember anything else about this presentation, please note this. As we found, and well, I shouldn't say we found, it has been found that quite literally in upwards of 70% of estate plans that are out there that have been drafted by attorneys are useless. They're not useless at the fault or at the because the attorneys didn't do things right. The attorneys did things perfectly. They're useless because they were not funded. Most people don't know what funding is, because your estate plan has a ledger in which you put your assets all in it, and the assets that you want to be distributed in such ways. The problem is that you must remember that your estate plan only works if it is properly funded. an asset any asset that is not transferred or assigned to your trust within your complete and comprehensive estate plan before your death can only be moved into it through what is called a pour over will. We have a pour over will in this program, right? But you want it in there before it has to use a pour over will. Why? Because a pour over will can also be subject to the expensive and time-consuming probate that adds to that billions, upwards of 70 billion, including the state and the federal dollars of death revenue that you're trying to avoid in the first place for putting it together. So you always want to do that. The way to avoid it is to make sure that complete funding is always done as soon as possible to keep your complete comprehensive estate plan up to date. And you're able to do that along the way because you have unlimited changes and updates in case things come into play. But more importantly, you have to be able to understand that we have a complete and comprehensive funding kit. This is a missing link. Its value is tremendous. It's tremendous, okay? It is absolutely tremendous, all right? Just noting your listed assets in your estate plan will make it convenient for you and your successor trustees to track your assets, which is great. However, just listing your assets does not fund them into your estate plan. You need to use your unlimited funding letters, which are offered through our platform, okay? You need to use those. They're included in there by signing and likely in some cases faxing, emailing, or mailing them to the facility to be able to facilitate the funding of your estate plan to whoever is holding whatever that account is in place there to properly transfer it. But it depends on what your asset type is. There could be other considerations as well, because you're going to either transfer the ownership of that asset into your trust, or you're going to make your trust within your estate plan here the beneficiary of that asset. All right. It's either going to be the owner or it's going to receive it once you pass. You want to set that up. Then and only then can it execute and actually transfer things properly. This is not the job of the attorney. You can hire an attorney to be able to do that. That's a separate fee on place. Most attorneys, that's not what they want to do or what they focus on or what their expertise even is. Their job traditionally is to make sure you have the attorney written documents that are needed in place. Funding is a vital step, all right, to where you move your assets into your estate plan. This is often missed, as I've said before. I'm just trying to make sure that you're hearing me succinctly and clearly, all right? Or sometimes it's just accomplished incompletely, all right? We want to make sure that you do it successfully all the way through, and that's why you have this complete and comprehensive funding kit. And as you can see here on the screen, there's two sections. There's real estate and all other assets that come into play here in the funding kit. When you click on the real estate, you'll see that they have partnered here with a national deed preparation company to assist you in the process. Here's what's wonderful about that. Did you know that if you had properties outside of your jurisdiction where you live, outside of where you live, that if something happens to you, you don't have the right paperwork in place, then that property will go through probate in that state and possibly probate in your state before it can actually even move to what you hope that it will go to as it relates to your loved ones, if you don't have things in right order. Well, this setup here is phenomenal because what it's going to do here for you, you're able to conveniently quit claim deed all of your properties as the technology is partnered with this national deed preparation company this here. All right. And you can prepare a quick claim deed or warranty claim deed anywhere in the United States and the District of Columbia for as little as $75. inside the platform right at your fingertips. You can also add additional services such as having all the forms for your state and county that they require for recording the deed and calculating the taxes or fees that are required, and even recording the document in your county as well. You can all do all of that from your fingertips, not having to go to the land ordinance or wherever it is there to be able to get it done in every jurisdiction that you have properties right at your fingertips. They can take care of it and ensure that it's properly funded inside your complete and comprehensive estate plan, which is the most important part for transfer purposes. This is phenomenal at your fingertips to be able to do. The name of the company is Deed Works that they use. You can look them up. They set it all in place there. See how it all works out, which is pretty phenomenal. They have a ledger inside here as well. But that deed service works, and they work you right on through the process. You'll get an email with everything, and it instructs you how to be able to walk through and then make sure it's done properly and as fast as you probably want me to desire it. All right. All of that is set up right there for you. The second tab, all other assets that you saw there, opens up to about 16 different tabs. There's 19 on the list, but there's 16 active ones that are here there because you got guidelines and instructions and videos and all that stuff that's there too. But it's everything from cash and assets in bank institutions to mineral interests and foreign assets and everything in between. When you open it up, it's going to give you the attorney drafted documents to go along with the topic. It's going to give you the instructions and guidelines on how to properly fund your estate plan for the particular title that's in place there. It is fully comprehensive in that regards and in that way, which is totally awesome. If you look at vehicles, for example, let's look at it. We click on it, it will open up. And you'll see here that it has every department of motor vehicle listed right here inside your actual platform here. And in doing so, it's there to be able to help you to transfer that vehicle appropriately and properly, both adequately and accurately, according to the jurisdiction to which that vehicle is registered. Because every state has perhaps some differences that's there. It's going to guide you all the way through it and provide you with the attorney drafted documents to assist it, as well as assisting with insurance, right? Making sure that it's properly insured and listed as it relates to your trust. And you can use your certificate of trust for that and towards that in as well. Your unlimited funding letters are phenomenal to that regards this there. This, ladies and gentlemen, is phenomenal to be able to have this type of degree of support and help to do what? To make sure that you're off of probate, to make sure that your life that is worth a legacy will be passed on to those that you love and care about the most. This whole process is totally secure. In fact, they even offer a document vault to secure those documents that you get notarized if you want to scan them and put them back in, or anything that's physically signed and or notarized, you can put into your e-vault for easy access, case of emergency or otherwise. The e-vault is going to make sure that things are safe, that things are secure for all, especially of your important documents. So there's no worries for anything being misplaced, any floods, fires, or fear that that pet ate something again. That's there. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff that's there for you. And you have access to it with a active account 24/7 to be able to draw it down. Your whole overall process here is totally secure. It uses this SHA 256 RSA 4096-bit key SSL encryption that's in place there. Ladies and gentlemen, all of that leads to is what leading authorities in cyberspace and cybersecurity has listed as this type of encryption is good enough to be used beyond the year 2030 in place. In fact, those are the same type of certificates that handle all kinds of sensitive information with financial institutions, e-commerce sites, and even some government agencies. So you have that high level security right there in place as well. Ladies and gentlemen, to have something like what we're talking about traditionally can cost $5,000 or more, according to this website. A complete and comprehensive estate plan, that's what you're going to get. Not to mention the fact that you can have extra stuff that you may need from your experienced estate planning attorneys that are going to bill you extra an hour, $350 to $700 an hour to bring it into place here. All right. So that's putting together a revocable living trust that is complete and comprehensive. I mean, we're talking about it has income only options. It has an AB trust if this a husband and wife or the spouses want to keep things separate, so they get two separate trusts in one type of dynamic. It has spendthrift provision, special needs trust. It has also optional children trust, an IRA look through in place, and so much more, special bequeaths and etc. You have 24/7 access to it, a certificate of trust. So when your trust does become owner of all of those different assets that you have, you don't have to turn over your complete trust to the insurance company who's insuring your house or your car, or the mortgage company that has a mortgage on your house. No, they just get the certificate this year. So all of your stuff remains private. All right. So you have a certificate of trust that you get with it. You get a last will and testament. You get a financial power of attorney for you to take care of your assets in case you're incapacitated and unable to. You have your healthcare power of attorney, and you have a living will and advance directive. These all work in concert with one another in different scenarios. Your parole will that I described earlier. You have an online funding kit, phenomenal, worth thousands of dollars alone. There are other companies out there that sell their funding dynamics for thousands of dollars. Not to mention you have unlimited funding letters, continuous, they don't run out, and an online document vault that I just stated, and access to unlimited changes and updates as life continues. There's also unlimited restatements as well, that you can go back in and change your interview process totally. Ladies and gentlemen, while there's a $49.95 maintenance fee year 2 forward, your initial cost for this is $1,995. It can be there from a credit card or a debit card or anything of that nature this year. And then year 2 forward, to keep an active account, $49.95. Once you make the purchase, you have it in place. Within 1 to 3 business days, you'll be able to receive an email that will have all your credentials for your login purposes, and you can make changes and adjustments to that so that you can have your system in place and set up for you. If you're not liquid to $19.95, that's totally fine. We have set in place here, ladies and gentlemen, 35 different lenders that are there to vie for your business. They'll pull a soft credit pull, debt to income ratios and credit scores are reviewed. We have rates as low as 4.9% this year. In fact, we have a young guy just did it recently. He got some great rates on there. For him, he's paying less than $50 a month and setting his up. But everybody's situation may be different this year for them. But that's an option for you if you're currently not liquid for it, so that you can do what? At least get the ball rolling and put things in place for you and your family, both now and in the future. Listen, the reason people are without a complete and comprehensive estate plan is not because they don't have access to attorneys. No, it's really 3. It's lack of education on the topic itself. It's not convenient, and cost. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that we have lowered the bar for clearing for all. We've pulled away the stop, all the stops. We pulled away all the stops. We truly want you to understand that now you have the opportunity to set into place the planning and execution of intergenerational wealth for you and your family, because the wealth transfer is going to provide that upward path of economic and social mobility for your families and so many more. Let me just say this. Don't leave your family's future to chance. Join these thousands of people all across America and hundreds seeing it even now in the last couple of months. It's just sprouting out, who are securing their legacy. It's never been easier. It's never been more affordable. But be sure to reach out to the individual who had directed you to see this information as soon as possible so that you can get your complete and comprehensive estate plan solution in place today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with that being said and being brought forth, we'd like to thank you for joining us for this presentation.